Hello and welcome to another episode of Dubai Real Estate Unplugged, the official House & House podcast. I'm Luke Remington, Managing Director at the House & House Group. Today, joining us for International Women's Day are two remarkable women from the team. Claire George, this is an easy name, Director of Marketing and Communication, and Jana Zaplelatova.
Oh, very well.
Associate Director. Welcome to the show, Claire and Jana.
Hello.
Let's start by sharing your stories. Claire, you could share with the listeners what led you to where you are today and some of your key achievements. You've got some big achievements. You were a big hire for us a couple of years ago. You've got an extensive CV with some big names. Let's hear a bit more about that.
Interestingly, real estate was never meant to be my game. Right. I tripped over real estate, I guess, came in for an interview here and I was kind of just thought I'd come in for a chat and I got sucked in.
Good.
I think there's something about the real estate, the energy of real estate, and I just love the way that people approach their work. Really like to take risks and challenges and all of those kind of things. So, but we moved to Dubai nearly 5 years ago now, and for me that was a big risk. I had a long and very rewarding career in Australia. I got to work with some very big brands, spent a lot of time at IBM working both locally in Australia and across the Asia Pacific region, and then also working for the Australian National University across all facets of communications and marketing. But it's interesting, if we were asking about my story starts when I was a lot younger, obviously, and I'm one of three girls. My dad was an aeronautical engineer. I think he actually wanted one of us to be an engineer or a pilot. One of his favourite shows on YouTube is this one where there are women pilots who do these YouTube stories and they talk about their history and how they got into being a pilot, and he's just so fascinated. So I think that I had a grounding very early with my dad making me think that I could do anything. But I think my confidence, which I'll talk about later, through my actual career was not that high, and it really held me back in the early days. But
Did anyone of the daughters become a pilot, or
no? Sadly, for my
it's interesting because I think that quite often you see female pilots, and I think there's Emirati female pilots, and there's a big drive in getting it. And I've seen different posts with maybe the father that's flown commercially with his daughter, and it's obviously a very proud moment, and so on and so forth.
No, a lot of women from across Europe and people who've come from really like diverse backgrounds, and people with no money who've like really pushed and they end up in flying these massive cargo planes. Actually, it's really interesting.
It is really remarkable.
Yeah.
Jana, inspirational for sure. Woman entrepreneur, I think soon. Forbes magazine, for those that can recheck. Miss Europe, the titles could go on. Tell us a bit about your achievements and what stands out for you.
A little bit about my story. So I did modeling all my life, and I did a lot of traveling. I visited 45 countries. I was always surrounded by beautiful properties, beautiful real estate, and modeling was very nice. But then with age, I decided that it's not for me anymore, and that I would like to achieve like more things. I'm not saying that it was really hard work. I really had amazing experience. I met so many amazing women, amazing people in general. But I always wanted something more for myself, and I also have an engineer degree. To be honest, that was something with my father. He really wanted me to finish my school. So even with my travels with modeling, I did study. I finished university, a very good university in Czech Republic. And I felt like it's time for a change. And I was living in Monaco, where I was working for a property developer.
Okay.
And then with COVID and everything, obviously it was not easy in Europe, and Dubai was the best place to be. And then I decided to move here. And actually, how I even found House & House and everything, also for my confidence and woman empowerment and everything. When I decided I want to move to Dubai and join the real estate industry, I had few friends who lived here. I could just ask them for recommendation and to help me with something, but I wanted to do everything on my own. I really went online and I just put like real estate companies in Dubai. I found 3 companies.
Okay.
And Haus and Haus stand somehow. I really liked them the most. I sent my CV, and I remember it was actually crazy before even that. I sent my CV, and then they asked me to do the video, right, with the 5 values and everything. So if we should actually look at the video back now. It would be very funny.
Interesting.
You know why? Because I did that video. I had a fashion shoot in Czech. I had a wedding catalog photo shoot, and that day, Cheryl, she from HR Haus and Haus, she told me that I need to send the video today. So after the shoot, with full makeup, with the hair from a wedding catalog shoot, I was doing this video, and now I'm here.
Let's see if we can find that.
I love that multitasking. It's like, I could do anything.
And credit to you, Jana, because it's very glamorous, and I know you could compare the modeling. Probably it's a lot more glamorous than real estate. Obviously, very pretty people or very pretty buildings or so on and so forth. But your story for me is quite inspiring in that you've done things on your own, and like you said to me, I think we were having a conversation yesterday. You were looked after by your family, and your father helped and did stuff, and then you wanted that independence. Mm-hmm. So you made a decision to go on your own and think, right, at some stage I do need to start doing X, Y, or Z, and that's what you've done. What are the challenges you faced since going into a completely new career in a completely new country? What challenges you faced? Let's look real estate perspective.
I mean,
because it's sorry to interrupt you. It's new, so for the listeners, it's less than 3 years in Dubai. Associate director here. There's got to have been a lot of ups and downs.
Of course, but I'm very confident, I'm very determined, I'm very focused, and if I put something in my mind, in my head, I go for it. I don't see, for me, it's just, I go straight and I put all my energy, all my passion to it. And I decided I want to achieve big things, and I have big goals for myself. I always set my goals before the new year, and and then I just think, and I'm like, okay, I did it, next.
How often do you analyze where you are today? I know we're obviously a few weeks into, 6 weeks into 2024. How often do you look back and think, right, I am where I need to be, I'm off track, I'm on track?
It wouldn't be that I do it consistently, that I would go back, but I believe that once you achieve what you wanted, then you look back and you're like, okay, I'm there. What's next for me? I just never saw.
So the story's never ending.
Yeah, of course it's never ending, because I want to achieve a lot of things. I have big goals for myself.
Interesting. Claire, I'm sure you must have seen with these large corporate companies that you've worked at, the challenges that face. And we're talking International Women's Day, women inspiring like yourself that are leading big teams. Lots of challenges, lots of ups and downs.
Oh, massively. And I think it's interesting that Jana talks about confidence, because that's one of the things I want to talk about today, because I think that for me, it's confidence is absolutely the key. Mm-hmm. And I think when I was younger, I'm very intimidated by people like Jana. She's beautiful, she's smart, and she's confident. Yeah. And so when I was younger, I think I subconsciously was like, I'm not beautiful, I'm not these things. I'm just going to follow the rules, try and be smart. And I just, at school, that was easy because the rules were there and you knew what you had to do and you could deliver against it. So school and university for me were easy. Once I got into the workplace, that's when things got hard. I think my very first manager was fired for sexual harassment. So that was a fun intro to work. Wow. And then I worked in a lot of male-dominated environments. And so my confidence got crippled quite early in my career, and it's hard to build that up. And then I was fortunate to move to some other organisations that had great cultures and that were very supportive. But I still had those little voices in my head all the time that will tell you that you're not good enough. And despite getting promoted, moving to different roles, I think I look back now and I am disappointed that there were opportunities that I didn't take or risks I didn't do because I lacked the confidence, that didn't feel like I should do it. And it wasn't until later in my career that I started to realise how much that holds people back. And I was looking before at there's some stats. I read a book quite a long time ago now, I think, The Confidence Code. And, there are actually a lot of stats that say women struggle with confidence a lot more than men. And I've just got some stats here. So Columbia Business School found that on average, men think their performance is almost a third better than it actually is.
Yeah.
And at Manchester Business University, they did a study where they spoke to male students who both expected and think that they deserve higher salaries than what women expect and think that they deserve. And I know HP, there was something that went around a few years ago that I think has since been somewhat debunked, but that women will only apply for a job if they feel like they've got 100% the skills for it, but men will apply before that. And it's interesting, I don't like to apply stereotypes, but it's interesting, my children now, I see it in them. Like my son fundamentally believes that he can do anything. And he's not a pro basketballer, not because he can't, but because, he just hasn't put the hard work in. So he's like, but if I trained every day and if I actually learnt the skills, I could do that.
Yeah, okay.
Whereas my daughter, I feel like, comes from a place of, that she can't do things until she gets proof otherwise, that, there's something that proves it.
Do you think this would I was away skiing with my kids last week. My son will fly down a mountain and my daughter will be very cautious and she'll want to get down the mountain in one piece. And if it takes her a minute longer, they're both at the same age. They've both had the same mother and father bring them up. But why has one got something that the other one hasn't? Is it just a biological way, or what has Jana had different in life to come with this confidence? Is there anything that maybe you've studied or learned or guidance, or what has given you the confidence to walk into a room with hundreds of people and think, right, I can tackle this?
My parents are very young. They had me when they were very young. And obviously they were busy. They needed to work, right? So every day I had some activity. Like after school, I was singing, playing piano, I was dancing, gymnastic. Every day I had activity. So every day I was with group of people. Every day I was performing, So maybe that was also something that made me who I am today, that I'm not shy, I'm very confident, I'm very easygoing, So maybe this really helped me, that I kind of practiced my confidence. I worked on it with everyday different activity.
I think that's exactly it. It's about doing it and failing and realizing it's not the end of the world when you do fail. So it's not that, I imagine, or I could be wrong, but the first couple of photos that Jana had taken probably weren't the best photos. Yeah. And it's having, I think the more, and again, this is something I realised far too late in life. I stayed in my safe box where I didn't try something unless I knew that I could do it, because I didn't want to embarrass myself. And then it's not until you realise that actually just giving things a go, that's how you learn. That's how you get better, and that's how you build your confidence. So the fact that Jana was, given those opportunities early to do things and practice the getting up in front of people and then doing the modelling, which is hard work, and travelling a lot, and then having to stand up in front of a whole lot of people who are all looking at you. You have to, and so you just learn the confidence, I think, from doing it over and over again.
Do you think, Claire, it would be that males are more open to, okay, if I take a shot and I miss and I do something unorthodox and different, I accept that if I'm wrong, that people could laugh and I can deal with it, and women can't? Or what would... no one likes to be different. No one likes to do something different. We all want to look. I remember that there was a famous, I think we're talking about your son with basketball, but there used to be a famous basketball player, and every shot he would do, every penalty, I don't know basketball well enough, but he would do it underarm. And his point scoring, his record, he used to get like 90% success. So literally he would do this, pop, 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 and it would go in. But the likes of Jordan and LeBron James would do this one, and theirs was like 76, 80%. So they're not as successful as this other guy, but the other guy it just looks a bit silly what he does, but he gets success. So no one likes to look not the norm, do we? We don't like to look different.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to, I guess there is a little bit of, the Ken and Barbie story of that. I do think that to a certain degree, and it's changing, but men have a softer pad to land on, I suppose. I feel like they're given more chances to get it wrong, whereas I do think people have been harder on women, and women trying to do things that they shouldn't be doing, or that are different, that maybe it is a bigger risk to take and to put yourself out there. Even in an industry like real estate, the perception is that there are more men. Sorry, that isn't a perception, that's a fact. Yeah. There are more men. Sure. I think the reason there are more men is because it is a confidence game, that it's, in order to be successful, you have to be really confident, which is absolutely very different than arrogant and pushy. I think some people correlate those two things.
Yeah, for sure.
And, the stereotypical idea of what a salesperson looks like is this arrogant, pushy, person. And that's actually not is what I see as the people who are successful in real estate at all. So then I suppose that, there are maybe less women who are confident enough to give it a go because they feel like if they fail, people will, judge them more harshly because they're playing in a man's world.
You both run teams in different departments. Jana on the sales side. Jana, installing confidence into one of your team members that's female, what would you do? Could you do? Could you help with? Could you assist with?
For me, the most important thing as a leader of my team is to give them my positive attitude. I want everyone in my team to come here in the morning and like to come here, to wake up, and I like to do this job. It's not like a job to take them as, it's an opportunity for me to achieve something. I have this opportunity, so I take it and I try, even with the confidence. If you are not confident today, if you practice your confidence within, within a month, let's say with cold calling, right? Now they're doing calls and they're like thinking too much, overthinking, like, I cannot do it, I'm so shy. I'm like, just keep doing it, keep trying, I was the same when I joined, right? Yeah. But now whenever I have a call, it's just like I'm being myself. I'm being natural, being myself, and then the client feels it, and then he does the business with me. So that's what I'm trying to empower them and encourage them to just keep putting the work, and it will bring the results.
Claire, you've worked in different parts of the world. You mentioned that at the start. You've moved to Dubai, the Middle East, and what differences would you see with women in work in these other countries to what at Haus & Haus, I think we're just under 50% of leadership is women. So I think it's about 46%. So we are nearly at a 50-50 basis, but what is the differences or the challenges that you will face? Because it must have changed over the last kind of 30, 40 years.
Oh, it's changed. And
massively, right?
Sadly, I've been around for a lot of...
Yeah, but it must be a lot more out there, and we talk about it a lot more, and it's always in the papers and it's always on these things, and whenever I see a Zoom meeting, I'm always scanning the pictures and oh wow, look at the amount of females and this. So it's not now women growing up, having babies, looking after the babies, not coming to work. It seems to be more of a equal playing field.
Yeah. Look, I definitely think there's been a huge amount of progress. There are no doubt that there are still places in the world where there are big issues, and I don't want to underplay those. But in the countries that I've been fortunate to live in, Australia has made a lot of progress, and even during my career, that's it's changed quite a lot, and I don't think that I've been limited. I've been limited more by my own perceptions and the things that I do than I have been limited by not getting the opportunities or not being given the opportunities. And again, I think I've worked for organisations who have always had women in leadership. When I moved to Dubai, lots of people from Australia were saying, oh, the Middle East, can you drive? Will you have to wear a headscarf? So there's still a lot of misunderstanding, I think, about the progress within the UAE. My experience here in the UAE has actually been very similar, if not better, than Australia. Now, again, I think it's the organisations I've chosen to work for, because I specifically have sought out organisations that I feel like are supportive of women, have some level of flexible work practices, so and have the kind of values, talking about being positive and optimistic and all those things. So I've sought out those organisations, but the diversity here is amazing. I love the fact that in my team, it's not just about gender, but I think I've got something like I've got 25 people in the team and 20 different nationalities. Everyone's coming from different religions. The tolerance, we have some great lunchtime conversations around everyone's collective experience, and I think that that's what makes everyone better. So then the focus is not on those things. It's about on the things that we have in common and what we need to do to thrive and be great at our jobs. And it just becomes a different conversation.
And I think you hit the nail on the head, the misconception of Dubai. And Jana, you must have probably taken this into consideration. You're living in Monaco, a really nice area in Europe, and you move into the Middle East to do a completely different job. And you hear all these stories about the Middle East, and probably about females and what they can and can't do. Did it go through your mind, or you didn't pay much attention to it?
I came to Dubai like 10 years ago for holiday, so I had an idea. But still, even now, if I would have some clients coming to Dubai for a first time, they would ask me like, oh, you need to cover, like, can you wear a skirt? Can you wear a bikini? So they still have some misconceptions, but I don't feel anything. As a woman, I feel equal rights. And I feel there's so many opportunities for women in the Middle East.
What advice, Jana, would you have for women considering a career in real estate?
I advise them to believe in themselves. Everything is possible. I did it. I managed to achieve what I achieved, and I believe that if you have strong personality, if you will be dedicated, and if you really focus, you can achieve anything in life.
Claire, this might be controversial, but I'll throw it at you. Should we really be paying attention to International Women's Day? Because for me, it makes a focal point on one day, I think it's March the 8th. We're doing a special podcast on it. Would we be doing the same about International Men's Day? I doubt it. So
that's because every day is Men's Day.
But do we bring? There was an article I saw, Arabian Business, UAE real estate sector seeing massive upsurge in women investments, with 25 billion recorded in 2023. That's 50% increase. So we're seeing that females are investing more into real estate. Do we pay too much attention to this, Claire, that we're now in a society where it is equal? And should we be celebrating International Women's Day every day, like you say about the men? I just wonder if we now are holding on to something from the past, and we need to move on to say it is normal to get onto that A380 and see a female pilot. Or it is normal to see these things?
It is normal. I would say we probably haven't achieved full equality yet. So I think that's why. So we have made so much progress, but I think there is still a lot of work to be done. And that's, we're talking International Women's Day. As I said, it's what I've experienced in certain organisations. I have, when I first came over here, one of the organisations that I applied for, and I got offered a very senior job, and they said that, I wasn't allowed any workplace flexibility. They had a whole lot of rules that I didn't agree with. But
would this be male, female? male can have it, female can't?
No, but I think that some of the challenges are, so for example, when you have had children, it's quite often the default that the female has to juggle the children, right? So it is something that the man is like, oh, well, that's fine because the female is there to handle that. And then I remember the vice president saying to me, don't worry, everyone in Dubai just gets a maid, so you get the maid to do it. And there's just, I think that it's a lack of understanding about some of the challenges that are unique to women. So these might be simplistic, examples, but just because we have Mother's Day doesn't mean that we don't appreciate mothers every other day. But it's just nice to have that moment then everyone just stop and reflect and say, you know what, hey, if I forgot to tell you before, Mum, I love you and you're doing a great job. International Women's Day, it's like we should be looking at that, considering things all the time and constantly catching ourselves, because there are still things we all say and do, and the things that I'm sure that I say and do that are still kind of perpetuating certain, ideas. And so we should be doing that all year. Yeah. But I do think International Women's Day is a moment for us to just stop and go, let's celebrate how far we have come. Let's take a moment to look at some of the success around us, and let's make sure we keep moving in the right direction. And whilst we as an organisation might be doing a great job, that doesn't mean every organisation around us is doing that. So let's just kind of celebrate where we're at.
Jana, if you were called by the UAE ministry to implement something, to change misconceptions, to make it more equal, is there anything that you feel that any ideas that you could do to make females more comfortable, to make them more confident? What would you change? I think the female and male waiting areas is I know there's, I was in the hospital the other day and I sat in the female waiting area. I didn't actually realise, but actually there was more males sitting there. And then I looked around and I'm like, maybe it's not adhered to, but it would have been 2-3 years ago when they opened. What do you think we could check? Or maybe as an organisation, let's not say as Dubai, is there anything that you feel as an organisation that it would have been nice if that voice heard, or whatever it could be?
But I mean, in Haus, we are very equal.
Yeah.
I don't feel any difference between men and women. Everybody has the same opportunity. Yeah. So in our company, it's very well organized.
I think we just need to and I know from a marketing perspective, one of the things that we're looking at is how we can showcase more of the females at our office. Because going back to that confidence thing, I think that people, actually, it's not showing more women, but showing that to be a successful real estate, perhaps the skills that people think they need to have are not actually the skills that they need. So going back to what I was talking about earlier, I think that some of our most successful agents are maybe a little bit quiet. Yeah. They're very lovely people. They are not pushy. They are not arrogant. And I think that we need to just keep breaking down the stereotypes that exist in this country, because there are a lot of agencies and agents who do the wrong thing, who aren't, portraying that image of a real estate, and that puts women off from applying because they think that that's what they have to be in order to be successful, and that's not true. So I think the more that we can show and break down the stereotype of what a successful real estate agent looks like, that will help everyone.
Yeah. And I think this is a point that I've mentioned to James quite a few times, that I think the misconception with someone like Jana is pretty mischeck. Was it mischeck? Yeah. And I actually feel for Jana sometimes, because I think from the outside looking in, they will think Jana was number 2 in the company last year, and I've got no doubts it could be number 1 this year. And I think the misconception would be that Jana's very pretty and females will be pretty and they'll do deals and people just want to deal with them. And maybe they feel more comfortable for dealing with Jana for that reason, or maybe they don't want to go with a male because they'll feel that maybe there could be a few more lies, whereas like Jana being a bit more honest. But the fact of the matter is that when you actually look at Jana in the workplace, she's actually driven and sits down and works for more hours than a lot of the other males and really understands the product. And so I do think it is unfair for females to be judged by the cover, shall we say?
And that, that was from the beginning also for me when I joined the real estate. That was everybody was judging me just by my cover, by the way I look, right?
Yeah.
And that's why for me it's the opposite. I like when I come in the room and people are like, oh God, this girl, she has no idea what she's talking about. And then I prove everyone wrong.
Yeah.
So for me, this is like, I enjoy the feeling,
Is it a hindrance to be a female in real estate in general, regardless of how you are?
For me, no. I mean, I'm very confident. For me, if it's a woman or a man, I don't see a difference. If you put your mind to it, you can achieve anything you want in life, right?
Yeah.
And I put my mind to it. I love it.
Yeah.
For me, real estate it's my passion. It's not just my work. It's my passion. To come here, I love to come here. I love everyone in the company.
Yeah.
It's like I come here because I enjoy it.
I think, Claire, it's probably going back to that old statistic, isn't it? That when you meet someone, you make a judgment of them within, 5, 10, 15 seconds?
Yeah, within seconds you judge people. And I do think that there is that, again, that is that challenge. And it's breaking down those stereotypes that, people, if there are people out there who look at Jana and say, well, she's successful in real estate because of how she looks, they are just not, they have no idea what goes behind
100%.
all the hard work and understanding the market, being able to build relationships and the persistence. It's that confidence of being able to stand back up, because real estate can be hard.
Yeah.
Not just because you can go for a really long time without selling anything, or deals don't go the way that you wanted them. So you have to have the confidence to know that you'll get there in the end. And I think if it's sad to think that people don't understand. So I think that's where we just need to keep breaking down those stereotypes.
Yeah, I know there's always we're looking at women in leadership, and even world leaders, and when a woman gets into presidency or prime minister or something, there's always a talk and debate regarding it. And I think from just the conversation we've had, and you've just touched on it, Claire, that Jana's probably been knocked down 7 times, but she's got up 8. And if she gets knocked down 8, she'll get up 9. And that's the difference. And that could be male or female, that sometimes people get knocked down and say, well, okay, this isn't for me. I'm going to try something else. And one thing I think is, tenacious, and you're resilient, and you just keep going, and regardless of your gender or the way you look or whatever your thoughts are, you will keep going. And whether it's just, I suppose, fortunate for real estate that both of you are here with us at Haus and Haus, because you are those kind of people that you just keep going. So thank you.
But also thank you to you. Because we, again, it was interesting when I came in for my first interview, and I think it was with you and Simon initially. And just from the moment I walked in that door, I felt equal.
Good.
And I felt like when we talked about me leading marketing and the things that I think that I need in order to be successful, and I remember asking for, I want your support. I want to be able to meet with you regularly. I want to get your feedback, but I also want autonomy, and I want to be able to, I need you guys to trust me to run the team. And that's exactly what's happened. Good. And you don't get that everywhere. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure the listeners will have probably been able to pick out a handful of topics there that they can actually think about and move forward on and discuss. Claire and Jana are in the company, and you're more than welcome to reach out for them if you need any advice. Thanks for everyone for joining us today. If you'd like to learn more about the opportunity in Dubai real estate in particular, or join in the Haus and Haus team, you can visit our website, and we'll put the link in our show notes. So don't forget to subscribe to whatever channel you're listening on, so you're notified when we drop a new episode. You can follow us at Haus and Haus on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Thanks and goodbye.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.